Okay, here we are again at lovely Blickling Hall, which is just 12-14 miles north of Norwich. Last time we were here, Tina was really lucky to connect with Anne Boleyn, and sitting here quietly, she's trying to tune in. We sort of gave up after about 10-15 minutes because there were so many children around here and they were just interfering. It was very hard for Tina to tune in. Today, it's busy with the other end of the age spectrum, should we say.
Which we're gradually getting there.
Which we are rapidly getting there, Tina. So I'm going to sit here quietly. There's never any guarantees on anything that actually ever comes through, but whatever comes through, always grateful and always privileged. But when we were here last time, we actually went into the building itself, and there was a picture, a portrait on the wall of Henry VIII, which was Anne Boleyn's husband. We all know that. And you had a little bit of a connection there, didn't you, Tina? It was...
Yeah, it was just the photograph. It just felt really cold around that area. So,
Did he say, did you get the feeling that there's another version to this story?
more to find out.
There's more to find out. So we had Anne Boleyn come through, and we believe there's a massive story there. And then Henry VIII, well, he certainly lived about 10 people's lives in one hit. So that's one of those that's going to be ongoing. However, Tina,
Yes, I'm trying.
are we getting anybody? Is any spirits coming in at all, do you think?
I've got this woman, it's not Anne Boleyn.
No.
There is a woman around here. I don't know if she's connected with Anne Boleyn, but just see her. She's quite getting on a bit, in her 60s, late 60s.
What's she dressed like?
She's dressed like a Tudor. Well, that sort of clothes at that age.
Would you say she was well-to-do or starved?
Yeah, I would say no. I'd say she was maybe it's Anne Boleyn's mother, because she spent more time there than Anne Boleyn did.
Yeah. Yes.
And yeah, I think that's. I'm going to say it's her mother, because she's feeling wretched.
She's feeling?
Wretched. That's the word she's going to be wretched.
Okay.
I know it's not a word we use today, but they would have used it back then.
Absolutely, yeah. Are you able to connect with her, do you think?
Yeah. She keeps like putting her head in her hands. She's very in an energy of remorse and disbelief about what happened and how her husband behaved. And I'm getting the name Thomas, and I presume that's her father.
Anne Boleyn's father, you
Thomas.
mean? And what's this woman's name?
I ain't getting her name, to be honest.
Okay.
I'll get the name Anne, but I don't think it's her name, but that could be. And she's just, she's feeling wretched because she feels like she couldn't control the events what unfolded. That was out of her hands and all, she just disgusted, really. She lost her daughter and a son because of her husband's behaviour. All he wanted to do was stay in favour with the king. And she didn't want her daughter to marry the king in the first place.
No.
That's what she's now saying. Because she knew where it would go.
She knew it would end in disaster, I should imagine. Gut instinct.
Yeah, she didn't but her husband was all for it. But she did leave her husband, she's telling me anyway.
She left him?
Yeah, she left him after the events, yeah. She went to live in London. Sorry. And she's not gone over because obviously the pain is keeping on this plane. And she didn't like Henry anyway. She didn't like Henry. She didn't want her daughter marrying Henry. But her father was just a person who didn't have no feelings for his children. He didn't care.
No.
He didn't
I
know
mean,
it.
Anne's father, her
Yeah.
husband.
Yeah, her
had no
husband,
feelings
Thomas.
for the children.
Well, he did, but then he got power hungry. He wanted to be in the royal court and be part of it all, and he did succeed. Even when he fell out of favour, after Anne died, he was back in the court again, which is really bad, isn't it?
Yeah. That is selling his soul beyond belief,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. She thought Henry was far too old for her daughter anyway. And there's a big age gap apparently, about 20-year age gap.
Say again?
She thought Henry was too old for her
Yeah.
daughter. But whatever she said was dismissed. And, you know, she's still in this energy of being heartbroken and wretchedness. That's what she's calling it, wretchedness.
But the good thing about it all was Elizabeth I.
Yes, obviously.
And how did she get on with what's her relationship like with her then?
She didn't have a relationship with her.
Didn't she?
No, because she was Elizabeth was put in the royal court, and she never had a relationship with her. She might have visited her a couple of times, but she didn't have a relationship with her
Very little to do with her granddaughter.
because she was closed in the Hampton Court.
Right.
That's what she told me, Hampton Court.
Where was the mother then living then? Anne's
She's living
mother?
in London.
Yeah.
She lives in a house in London.
Had she ended with her husband then? by then?
Yes, she left him. Yeah.
And was she on her own?
Well, she was on her own, but she had money, so she had, you know.
Why didn't she come back here then, Tina? Because
This was already sold.
Oh, it had been sold.
Yeah. It was already sold. And she loved her time here. She absolutely loved it here.
And how long was she here for?
15 years is what I'm getting. This was the Boleyn family home.
And how long was Anne living here?
Only till about 5.
Right.
But I could see Anne as a teenager, but it may just be her spirit, you know.
Yeah. But this woman is trapped on this plane.
Yes, she is.
And it's because of her pain?
The pain, yeah. Not just pain, absolute anger and disgust. But she doesn't haunt right there. Or she might do, because there are some sightings of the woman. But she does come back here, you know, because happy times before her husband, when they were, the children were young and everything was okay. And no one knew at that time what the events were going to happen in the
No.
future. She said, if I would have known, I would have never let it happen.
What's her relationship like with the son that she lost?
Very close. Actually, she's more closer to her son. And his name was Thomas as well. Apparently.
Okay, so have you got a name for this lady?
No.
Just
Okay.
in the-
Anne, but I don't think that's
You've
right.
got an Anne, but that could be...
Could be a nickname, or sometimes they take their middle name. For
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
They don't always use their first.
And was she a well-to-do? Was she
Yes.
from a well-to-do family?
Yes, she was, yeah.
And her husband? What about him?
Well, the Boleyns, they were all over Norfolk.
Right. So
Well,
there
even
were
connected to that other place we went to, that Castle Baconsfield.
Yeah.
They're even connected to that as
Oh
well.
yes. Yeah. So they were both a well-to-do family.
Yes.
Was it an arranged marriage or was it?
No.
Oh, so it was something they'd met.
Yeah. Fell in love, got married, had children.
And then when did this crack start to appear with this sort of lack of, I don't know, paternal instinct for the old boy, for her husband?
Well, as soon as that, she became a lady in waiting, Anne Boleyn became a lady in waiting for one of Henry's wives. And that's when the crack started appearing, because he wanted to get rid of, I think it's Catherine of Aragon. That's what I'm being told. Catherine of Aragon, Anne Boleyn was a lady in waiting, so, but as soon as,
Okay.
yeah, but as soon as Henry saw her, he didn't want Catherine of Aragon anymore, he wanted her.
You want her?
And her dad just let it happen, and she
Right.
was so young. 15.
And what was the her father's role in the court then? Was he someone who just knew through position?
It's something to do with. It's something to do with information. He used to gain information and stay in the court by getting information on other people, if you know what I mean.
Oh, really? So he was a slippery little toad.
Yeah, and he became obsessed with the king, to be honest. He just wanted it. And when Henry liked his daughter and told him,
Yeah.
Thomas was all willing up for it, you know, and getting, And to turn his back on his son and his daughter, and not sticking up for him, and not even saying anything, or just shutting up and let everything happen, was the most despicable in his wife's eyes. It was the most despicable.
And of course they were accused of some pretty incestuous behaviour, which was all untrue, which was all lies.
That was all lies, because that's the only thing they could get her on.
Which would have been absolutely mortifying for the mother.
And that's only because that she lost him 2 or 3 babies.
Yeah, miscarriages.
And he wanted a son. And that's the only reason why Henry was quite cold in that way.
Yes.
He wanted a son, so he didn't care about he had a daughter, he just wanted a son.
And had this lady met Henry VIII?
Of course. She was at the wedding.
Yeah, well, okay. I mean, how close was she to Henry VIII?
Not at all. She didn't like him at all. She just knew that she had a gut feeling that everything would, because you know, he was a much older person. Already had a couple of wives, or 1 wife. Yeah, I think Anne Boleyn was the 2nd one, but maybe 3rd. No, what, 2nd? I keep getting told
Just
that.
speak up, lady.
2nd wife. I can't really speak up now because there's people.
Whoops. What else can she tell us about the relationship between the two of them, Anne Boleyn and Henry VIII?
Not much, because she went around.
Did Anne Boleyn not confide in the mother?
No. She comes across as a figure who's hovered in the background and just had to do what she was told. You know?
What about his son? Was he more forthcoming? Was he worried about events taking place in the court?
No. Not until obviously he got killed. No, they weren't.
That must have been awful for the mother then, when it came to
She couldn't give herself.
siblings being executed like
There
that.
weren't her siblings down, there were children.
Sorry, yeah, children. I meant children. Sorry, yeah. What else can she tell us, Tina?
She loved this house. She loved
Loved
this
this
house.
house,
She loved
yeah.
being there. Even though it's been rebuilt, you know, and remodeled, but
Yeah.
she loved it. And the gardens. She had a really, she felt like she had a really good life until events turned. Because they moved away from here, they moved to, she told me Kent.
Right.
They moved away from here to Kent, and that's where they were living when Henry met.
Not Hever Castle, was it?
Yeah, Hever Castle.
Right. So they moved from here. So they sold this place up,
Yeah.
and they were on upward
Yeah.
trend.
Yes.
They bought Hever Castle.
Bought
And then
Hever
things
Castle,
started to
and then
go.
that's when she went into, because they were up in society.
Yeah.
That's how Anne Boleyn became a lady in waiting.
Yes. So it was obviously when they were at Hever that
Yeah.
at some point later that they caught Henry VIII's eye.
Mm.
Or Anne Boleyn did.
Well, she had a job.
So how did she like Hever?
She didn't like Hever at all, because that's where the events went wrong.
Yeah.
I think if
Some
she
bad
stayed
memories
there,
there.
we'd been all right. Yeah. Because they were gone up the tree. That's what they sold us and went to Hever Castle.
Gotcha.
She didn't like it. I mean, obviously she liked it, but she didn't like it because that's too close.
Yeah.
Her, she felt like from distant and everything. But that's before everything went wrong for her. So. But she just wanders around here as well because
And she wanders around here.
she does, because this is the place
What
where
rooms
she was happy.
What rooms, yeah, and what rooms does she wander around in? If you were going to see her, which rooms would it be in?
Well, there's a couple of bedrooms, but there would have been a hall. But I don't think it's there now, but there was a hall where sort of like where they all went,
Yeah.
where they entertained. She used to love entertaining. They used to have a lot of people, used to have a lot of famous people from history around come and stay and, you know, dine and wine and have a ball and things like that. She was a very good looking woman, but she ended up, you know, just heartbroken. But I don't know if we should let her go or what, I don't know.
I think it might be a bit early, yeah. We always regret sending him on. So does she haunt,
Actually, because there's a man there come through, and I'm sure that was her husband, you know. Thomas.
Speak up a bit.
There's a man there come through, he's got this cape on, this long hat, you know, Tudor, older gentleman, and I think that might have been her husband as well. Thomas. He got to say anything. He didn't want to come forward. He ain't gone over. He's in regret.
Yeah.
Sold his soul. Sold my soul. It's like you're saying, he sold his soul. Hangs his head down. So I think them two are trapped together in that energy of remorse and regret and anger and not being able to go over. And I think he just follows her spirit. I can see what you look like. He's got this log sort of clip, but then he came halfway, didn't he? Sort of.
Right.
And he went halfway, and he's got, you know, the sort of clothes they would have worn Tudor times, breeches and everything. But fine clothes.
Have you got his name from him? I know
Thomas.
He gave you that name.
Yeah.
Okay.
He just said, yeah,
So
I
what,
sold my soul to the devil, and he doesn't want to.
he wasn't always like that, was he?
No.
Or was he?
No, he's a good family man. Something snapped in his head, and he got power. He
Did
got a
he
glimpse
enjoy?
of power.
He enjoyed living here.
Yes, favourite days. Favourite days of my life. When they moved, everything changed.
So Heaver was not a good move for the family, although for
Well,
him,
yeah.
for him,
There he is, look. Come back to the book.
yeah, for him, he would have. And how does he feel about selling his kids out like that?
Totally remorse. He won't go over because he thinks it's just the worst thing a father could have done.
Was it worth it?
Not now. He knows that now, but he didn't at the time. And even after they killed her, he was like carrying on with the king. He still went back into the court a couple of years later.
Does he realise how?
Authentic,
Does he realise how bad that actually sounds?
Yes, he does. Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing I can do to change things.
I've got a crazy question here. Is he able to contact with his children in this plane that he's in?
No, he's in a lower one.
So his children may well have gone over.
Not Anne. We've seen her. Annie gone over because she's in that anger as well because of what happened to her.
Yes.
I don't know about her brother. I ain't seen him, so perhaps he has gone over.
And so he's locked in with his wife,
In the energy.
sharing this guilt, although he was the main perpetrator of that. What was his relationship like with Henry then?
I put him first. I put him before anything.
And for what reason?
Well, I didn't think at the time, but it was for greed.
Greed.
Greed and power. To save my own neck.
And what was his role in court? You touched upon it earlier, but I wonder if he can expand on that as to what he was doing there before he introduced Anne.
Well, he weren't really in court until Anne was born. Until
Right.
Anne got married to him.
Okay.
He weren't really in court, and when he was in court, it's just because he's the father's, his father-in-law.
Right.
But he got involved with everything and everyone, and they're sharing information around.
Right.
And when he went back a few years later,
Yeah.
he became in the king's favour.
Yes.
So, but everyone knew that Henry. This is what he's going to say. This is different. Everyone knew that Henry was very vulnerable.
Right.
And I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, yeah.
He was vulnerable in a way that everyone would in his ear telling him this and telling him that, and he would just go, he'd get very confused in his mind because he had one thing and the other thing.
Yes. Too much
So
information.
he'd get really angry.
So
He'd get really angry off with her head or something like that because he was just so angry.
But he had rose in the ranks after he'd lost his son and daughter.
He was out of it for a bit, but he came back.
Came back in
later.
And they actually had him back in, considering what had happened.
He was something to do with property. I keep saying something to do with property.
Property.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, it's something to do with property that he gave King Henry some property.
Right.
Because he was a very wealthy man, Thomas.
Yeah, right. Okay. And so he had Henry's ear.
Yeah.
Shall we say? And
along with a lot of other people did as well.
And what happened then? So time went on then, and how was his relationship with Henry then as time went on?
Well, that was towards the end of Henry's life.
Right.
But he was back in court, and Henry was on his last marriage, I think. That's what I just see his last marriage, and he was an ill man. I think he was even there. I think Thomas was even there when he died.
Oh, really? What do you mean, in his room?
I don't think in his room, but he's in court, He was with the king.
Right. He was still on the scene then.
He was an old man too, by then.
Yes.
And he died a lonely man.
Who, Thomas or Henry?
Thomas. Well, Henry did really as well.
Well, yeah.
But Thomas
we all
died a lonely man
because at the end of the day.
His wife wouldn't live with him anymore.
No.
She ended up in London. She told me she went to London.
So they sold
somewhere
Hever
near
Castle.
a castle.
Did he sell Hever Castle then? Or?
Touching into that. I think he ended up in Hever Castle till he died, but there weren't no family to take over. His son had died. And there was another girl called Mary, which no tell me. So apparently, Anne Boleyn. I've got a sister called Mary Boleyn.
Right, okay.
I didn't know that.
No. And what happened to her then?
She's telling me she was eyed up for the king. She was the one they wanted the king to marry, but he didn't. He preferred a younger girl again.
Oh, I see. Okay.
She was older.
Right. Managed to slip under the radar, luckily for her.
She did marry someone. I'm seeing her getting married, but it weren't the king, but it went with someone in the court,
Okay.
Sister called Mary. Mary Boleyn, must look that one up.
So, I jumped the gun a little bit. So what happened with Hever Castle then?
I'm seeing it being sold. It must have been sold to someone else.
So he sold it then? Presumably he sold it rather than had it repossessed?
I don't know if he sold it or he just died there and
Oh.
nearest relatives or whoever, because there was other relatives, obviously. Other relatives got it. But, yeah, he said that. I'll just go back to what he said about the king.
Yes.
King was easy to manipulate.
Was
vulnerable.
he? Was he? Or was it just easy for him to manipulate, or were other people?
Everyone in the court.
Really? So he was up for grabs towards the end of his life.
Yeah. He weren't looked after properly, in a way that the person who used to look after the king was the king turned against him. Thomas.
Yeah.
Cromwell. And the king had him executed, but he was there for the king. So this other Thomas was a bit like that, But anything to be in the king's favour. And I don't understand that, because But then we never been in them circles, Michael, have we?
No,
So we wouldn't understand.
it wouldn't have interested us. It's not really in our personality, is it? But obviously it was with Thomas.
Yeah.
Something about being in the royal court really
In favour
inspired
of the
him.
king, anything for favour of the king.
Yeah,
But he's like in a lost soul now. He's like walking around the ether in the earth because he just doesn't even think.
and where does he in particularly haunt?
Oh, he come here, Hever Castle, Hampton Court. He's just not. He's not going to go over. I mean, he can go over if he wants to, if he gives himself. But he wants forgiveness from his children and his wife. And I'm sure they will one day, but I don't think that's not right now.
Although when you connected with Anne, she seemed to be of a, well, it was a very short reading, but she seemed to be of a very buoyant personality, didn't
Yeah.
she? So perhaps it might be in her capability to forgive her
Well,
dad.
she would, yeah, absolutely.
But would be very hard, though, wouldn't it?
No, she'd forgive everyone. But the reason why she hangs around because the way she died, you know.
Yes,
And the way she is accused of,
yes.
not by the king, because the king
What
didn't.
on earth
accuse.
did
That was the
Tom-
people in the court.
What on earth did Thomas seriously think when these allegations of incest between his own children was brought out?
I don't think he thought anything. He was just thinking, "I'll stay quiet and then it'll go away." He didn't think about losing his children. No, he didn't. But they're stuck with this energy together.
Did he ever have a conversation with Henry about this? About that? Because that would have been...
Yes, he did. He said, and he told the king, "You do what you see fit.
Wow.
Not please spare my children."
No. He said, do what you feel fit.
Anyway, I thought Anne would come in, but she's not coming today.
Maybe she's not coming because
Yeah, this needs to be told, yeah.
her father's here.
Yeah.
We don't really know. That was really quite interesting, that, Tina.
He said, that's what he said. He said he's in this remorse, he ain't gone over and he won't go over and she won't go over because she's so angry as well. I don't think his wife's name was Anne, but she was called Anne. That might be the nickname which she gave herself.
Is he able to tell you what her name was? I mean, I know it's probably very well documented,
Yeah, it's probably right.
but we don't. Sitting here, we don't know.
It might
Did
even be Anne.
Did he have anything? What was his relationship with Elizabeth I?
He rarely saw her.
Very rarely.
Yeah, she was in court and she was brought up by the court. You know, the maids in waiting. She didn't see her outside family at all. And she didn't know much about it, Elizabeth, until she got older.
Yeah. Because we did find out something that Elizabeth I, is this correct? She went to Norwich Cathedral
did.
to look for her mother's.
There was a Boleyn thing there, but we couldn't find
memorial.
it.
No, we couldn't find it. So she knew about that.
Yeah.
Eventually. I just wondered.
Before she died, she came to Norwich Castle.
Yeah. I'm just wondering
Norwich Cathedral.
what her relationship was with, or what his relationship was with his granddaughter.
There weren't one.
So he led quite a very strange by to anyone's standards.
I mean, I'm not
quite-
saying he didn't see her, he did, but there weren't like a grandfather-granddaughter relationship.
No, no.
Sad story, isn't it, Mike?
It's a terrible story of family. When it started off, when you think of how it started off, and it's amazing. There's a pan around here so people can just see this was the family home. That's not bad, is it? You could slum that in there, couldn't you? To have had this as your start would be an absolute amazing experience, and then to have ended up how they did was really quite. It was absolute. Can't imagine anything
Hever
worse.
Castle was the castle, Michael. You know, they went
Yeah.
from there to the castle.
Yeah, they actually went up from
They
here.
went up because they got in
But
favour with the king.
family-wise, they went down massively. It destroyed them, didn't it?
That's hard. I mean, I could just feel the energy of the mother, and that's really
Yeah, you got that straight away. That was the
wretchedness. This is the right word. What she
wretchedness.
said.
Yeah, she would have felt absolutely mortified watching her children slide down a slippery slope.
Yeah, but the son didn't do nothing wrong.
No, I know. Well, nor did she,
Nor
did
did
she? Let's be honest, she
Nor
didn't
did
get a
she,
thing
no.
wrong.
But the father did. He did a lot wrong.
Well, that's
He
quite...
could have begged for like
Tina,
like she's saying, he could have begged.
there was a lot of things he could have done,
to
but
spare.
what did he actually do?
No.
He actually said, do what you feel is...
Fit.
Yeah?
Do what you see fit.
Do what you feel...
Oh.
I mean, that's... Oh, yeah.
I didn't realise it's so hard.
Do what you feel is fit is... it's just unbelievable. But when you understand, to get to that point, Tina, he'd let his children down and his wife down pretty badly up until that
Didn't bother
point.
him.
Hadn't he?
Didn't bother him.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so I'm not going to let him go. I'm not going to try and get him
No.
over because you don't.
No, I don't think that's the
can't hold
right
her energy
time,
anymore,
Tina.
don't
I think we probably need to connect with Anne and possibly even her brother if that ever happens.
Tower of London, we need to go.
Right, I'm going to shut that off there.
Yeah.